The waiting game. They had been through everything together: laughter, tears, adventures, and silent moments that spoke louder than words. Their love had been an unspoken promise, a bond that no one could break. She loved him with a depth that defied explanation. It wasn't just about the good times. It was about the quiet strength they found in each other during the hardest moments. He had always been her anchor, the one who understood her in ways no one else could, the one who could read her silences just as well as her words. He was the one she trusted the most, the one she always came back to, no matter how far life pulled them apart. But love, as she was learning, wasn't always enough. His job took him to places she could only dream of, to cities whose names she struggled to pronounce. She never knew where he was, who he was with, or when he would return. Sometimes weeks passed without a word. Some nights she lay awake, phone in hand, waiting for a call that never came. She tried to remind herself that his work was important, that his passion was something she should support. But the loneliness chipped away at her resolve. The uncertainty, the unanswered texts, the fleeting phone calls that always ended too soon, became a weight she could no longer bear. She had told herself that love meant patience, that waiting was a sacrifice worth making. But how long could she live in this limbo? How long could she keep giving without knowing if he would ever truly be hers? She loved him more than words could express, but there was a limit to how much of herself she could pour into something that felt so one-sided. One evening, after yet another missed call, she stood in the middle of their apartment, staring at the empty spaces where his things used to be. The weight of it all was suffocating. She had given him everything: her time, her love, her unwavering devotion. But she couldn't keep doing this. She couldn't keep waiting for someone who was never really there. With shaking hands, she packed her bags, folding away the memories along with the clothes. Every item she placed into her suitcase felt like a small piece of her heart breaking away. She had spent so much time waiting for him to come home, waiting for him to choose her, but now she realized she had to choose herself. As she zipped up the suitcase, the door opened. She turned startled and saw him standing there. He looked exhausted, worn from too many nights away, too many moments missed. His eyes, once so full of life, now carried a heaviness she had never seen before. He took a hesitant step inside, his gaze flickering to the suitcase by her feet. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice raw with regret. "I never wanted to hurt you." Her throat tightened. She still loved him. God, she loved him. But love wasn't supposed to feel like this. "I loved you," she whispered, the words catching in her throat. "But love shouldn't feel like a waiting game. It shouldn't feel like I'm always waiting for you to come back, waiting for you to choose me again and again." His face crumpled, and for the first time she saw it. The guilt, the pain, the realization that he had let her slip through his fingers. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought if I worked hard enough, if I kept going, everything would fall into place. I didn't realize how much I was losing." A tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly, unwilling to let him see just how much this was breaking her. "It's not your fault," she said softly, though they both knew it wasn't entirely true. Some love stories don't have villains. Some just fall apart, not because of a lack of love, but because love alone isn't always enough to keep two people together. The next day he left again, his bags packed, his shoulders heavy with unspoken goodbyes. But this time, there was no promise of coming back, no illusion that they could fix what had already broken. She watched him go, her heart aching with the weight of everything they had been. But alongside the pain, there was something else: relief. She had spent so long waiting for him, defining herself by his absence. But now, for the first time in a long time, she was choosing herself. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew this: she would no longer wait. Some love stories aren't meant to last forever, and maybe, just maybe, letting go was the only way to find herself again.